Unless you just tuned in from that Tarzan movie on the other channel, you know by now that we have prepared a story for this week on a venerable Washington institution, the Washington Redskins Marching Band. I think I managed to mention it at least 12 times up to this point. So without any further procrastination, let's simply say, hail to the band.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Vern Lundquist, and welcome to Washington. It seems slightly incongruous on this second week of the season to say this is a big game, but nevertheless, the adjective does apply.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Stadium and the home of your Washington Redskins. Today, for your pregame entertainment, we're pleased to present the famous Washington Redskins Marching Band and the Redskinettes.
Redskin Sunday at RFK Stadium begins with a football tradition that goes back more than half a century. It's a tradition that sets Washington apart from the 27 other NFL cities. And the story behind it begins in 1937, the year George Preston Marshall moved his team here from Boston. It's really two stories, the story of a band, but also of a song. A little ditty called the Washington Redskins March, written by Barney Briskin, who in 1937 was leader of the Shoreham Hotel Orchestra. How is it you came to write this song?
Well, I sat down at the piano. I was inspired with the whole thought of everything happening, the team coming to Washington from Boston, and I sat down and noodled with chords. I must say that I used Dixie as the bottom line of the chords, and I'll show you what I mean. The same chords for Dixie are the same chord for the 8 bars of Hail to the Redskins. I can sing, Hail to the Redskins, hail victory. The same chords are transferred from Dixie to there.
George Marshall loved the song, and his wife, silent screen star Corinne Griffith, supplied the lyrics, with some help from Briskin, who came up with the first line and new title, Hail to the Redskins. Although some have pointed out a similarity to the Presbyterian spiritual Yes, Jesus Loves Me, Barney Briskin says it's purely coincidental.
That is what has been said about it, and it is something that I had no knowledge of. Not being of the faith, let's put it that way, I had no feeling about it. But when you transfer a few notes around, you can, yes, Jesus loves me, yes, Jesus do. Hail to the Redskins, you know.
Another popular myth about Hail to the Redskins is that it was written in under 5 minutes, an apocryphal tale that Briskin admits to fostering.
I think perhaps maybe I made up a little of it just to dramatize it, because it just wasn't so. I egged a little bit and so forth, and you can't do much in 5 minutes. But this is a story that got around, and I never denied it. Let's put it that way.
Breeskin's boss for 14 years, George Preston Marshall, was never one to complain about a little exaggeration for publicity purposes. Marshall is invariably described first and foremost as a showman. He believed in football as entertainment, and that was the genesis of the Redskins Marching Band. Drum Major Rod Barnes is in his 46th season with the band.
George Preston Marshall, who owned the Washington Redskins, formed the band. At first it was the Chestnut Farms Chevy Chase Dairy Band, and that only lasted about 1 or 2 years, and then Mr. Marshall went out and bought the uniforms and formed his own band.
The Mercurial Marshall made the Redskin Band the centerpiece of increasingly elaborate halftime shows that featured everything from dancing Indians to Santa Claus parachuting into Griffith Stadium at Christmas time.
Mr. Marshall was a showman. He would come out to our rehearsals. We would practice a show for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, but he'd come out Thursday night before and watch the show. He'd either correct it or throw it out. Some Thursday nights we had to do a whole new show.
Washington was the first pro football team to field its own band, and it's the only NFL band that remains alive and well today. All this tradition is not lost on the more than 100 volunteers who gather each Wednesday night to rehearse, such as field conductor Cindy Keys.
We feel like we're the only ones. We're the only team in the NFL that has its own band. And we're very, very proud of that. I've been in bands before, but when you tell people you're in the Redskin Band, their eyes light up, and for the most part around the Washington metropolitan area.
I told him I knew you could play it. She said, oh my God,
Associate Director George White, an 11-year veteran, is a relative newcomer who still can't get over his good fortune to be leading this band.
It's a pride, the feeling of connection to the team. It's like being on another level, just a little above just a normal Joe. The tradition is a great tradition, and just the other director, Skinny Morris, was on a ship when Pearl Harbor was bombed. He was in the Navy band then, you see, and just working beside a fellow like that, it's kind of important.
All right, we'll play this number 17 play it.
Elmer Skinny Morris has been with the band for 23 years. He started as a trombonist, and now he's the director.
I think the band has got 100% better over the last 20-some years because originally I don't think they were doing as much auditioning as we have done in the past, and we're kind of picky as to who we select.
That tough audition process for the few spots in the band that occasionally become available has resulted in a high level of musicianship, a diverse selection of occupations ranging from doctors to lawyers to even at one point an actual Indian chief. While band members draw no salary, there are other compensations. You get to sit in the end zone for every game, you get 2 season tickets, and you get to really feel a part of the action. Al Fleischer feels his symbols are of more than symbolic value.
We watch the game, and of course we are in there trying to pump the team up, and we'll be hitting the drums and hitting the cymbals and kind of fire them up. And once in a while you'll see the players looking at us and waving at us. Come on, let's get a little bit of firing up here. Fire us up here, play something.
Automatically people think it's tickets. But that's, I guess, really, for the most of us, that's not the reason. The camaraderie is really great. There's so many different types of people in the Redskin Band. almost from every profession in the world that you could think of. I think that's probably the main thing that keeps everybody coming back.
And then there's the rush that comes when the Skins score and it's time to play the anthem that rocks RFK.
That's a surge, man. That's a real surge because you feel like you are touching this mass crowd, you know. And it's a totally different feeling from just being on stage and playing sax or something, because everybody, you are firing them up.